if you do my DNA testing today, and then I gain 200 pounds, has my DNA actually changed? And the answer is, of course not. Well, what I become diabetic, does it change? No. Well, when I
Mm.
become depressed, anxiety, heart disease, does it change? No. Well, it must certainly change after I die. And the answer is no. If you look at someone's DNA 100 years after they die, just like we look at DNA of mummies or dinosaurs, they never change. So if DNA can't
Mhm.
even tell you you're dead or alive, how will it ever tell you, are you becoming healthier or sicker?
Welcome to Extraordinary Stories. I'm your host, Forbes Shannon. With me, as always,
Christine Butler.
and man, the guest we have today, the line that he just dropped on us, life never stops teaching. Sometimes we just stop learning. That's what we're going to get into today. I mean, this guy's done a million different things. We'll get all into it in the conversation, but I just want to introduce our guest. Everybody, please help me welcome Naveen Jain. Naveen, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Well, first of all, what a pleasure and honor to be here at the Extraordinary podcast.
Well, and it's because you are extraordinary. And Aaron Bear, our CEO of Extraordinary, he nominated you because he's extraordinary. So, Naveen, how do you know Aaron?
Well, Aaron, I know through Singularity University, and obviously I'm on the board of Singularity University. I have been with them for more than a decade. And the idea has always been is that as these exponential technologies are coming along, and the biggest change that has really happened is not a single technology. That's always been this one set of things that comes along that actually changes things. So, go back and look at the telecommunications, how people who used to be tied to wireline became wireless. This is the first time in human history where there are multiple set of technologies that are converging at the same time. And that is what's creating these massive opportunities and massive threats. So if you are one of those Fortune 500 corporations sitting pretty and say, we are big, we can withstand anything. What we have not seen, this tsunami is going to take out more than half of those Fortune 500 companies. That means King is going to be dethroned. That means everyone who is listening to it actually can now become the new king, because the new king is going to be reappointed, and it's going to be done because of these opportunities that are being created, whether it is, pick anything you want. The cost of collecting the information or the data, the cost of sensors are coming down. The cost of processing is coming down. The cost of analyzing this massive amount of data is coming down. The cost of AI to make sense of it is coming down. And one thing that used to be most valuable, which was intelligence and cognition, and that is now actually going to be surpassed, that by having this, we call that AI as if there is something artificial about it, right? It's not real, it's artificial, right? And I would argue that we as humans are really the AI, which is ancient intelligence. And what we're going to have really is the new intelligence. Our ancient intelligence is still going to be there as a part of wisdom, but it's no longer going to be the cognitive throne that we have.
Oh,
That
my.
was insane.
Yeah, I love it.
Another mic drop we got, and we're
Yeah.
5 minutes in. What?
Not even 5 minutes in. Naveen, okay, there's so much to unpack there. I love that you talked about wisdom, ancient intelligence, and the new intelligence. And that's something that you're building at Viome, is tapping into the evolutionary body that we have and pairing it with AI. So do you want to explain a little bit about what Viome does?
Sure. Yeah. And I think, before I go explain why, I just want to give a framework, because I really think that people who are listening to it, I don't want them to think I'm here to talk about Viome. Viome to me is an implementation of the framework that I have used in the past. And I want to share that with you, because I really think I want every one of you who's listening to it to leave here and say, oh my God, now I can apply this to my life, right? So to me, anything that you want to start in your life, any company, any project, anything that's worthwhile doing, ask yourself 3 questions. Why this? Why now? Why me? And why this is really simple. you go backward and say, God forbid, I am actually successful in solving the problem that I set out to solve. So, whatever the problem that you want to solve, you ask yourself, what if it's actually successful? What if I actually end up solving this problem? Would it help 1 billion people live a better life? 100 million people live a better life. And the reason is not because you're a philanthropic person. The reason is because you are a capitalistic person. And as a capitalist, you should know that anytime you can build any product, any service that can help 1 billion people live a better life, you can create $100 billion company. But you never wake up in the morning and say, what should I do to create $100 billion company? Making money is a byproduct of doing things that improve people's lives. In other words, making money is like having an orgasm. If you focus on it, you're never going to get it. You just have to enjoy the process, right? So people who
Enjoy the
focus on
process,
making
guys.
money never make it. Right? So people who focus on making money rarely make money, right? And that's really how it is. So
I
that
love
is
that.
really why this. Then it comes down to why now. And why now, I think we talked briefly that you have to look at what changed in the last 1 or 2 years, but more importantly, what do you expect to change in the next 3 to 5 years that will allow you to solve the problem at scale in 3 to 5 years. And this problem could not have been solved 5 years ago. And the reason is, if you're using yesterday's technology to solve tomorrow's problem, by the time you're ready to scale, someone comes along, uses the new technology, and when you're ready to scale, they disrupt you, right? So even before you get to disrupt, you become the disruptee, right? And that is the problem you have, is you have to look at what is changing and intercept the tomorrow's technology to solve tomorrow's problem. The last part is the most important part, which is why me? And why me is, what questions are you asking that are different from what everyone else in the industry is asking? And here's why. The questions you ask are the problems you solve. Now, for example,
Uh-huh.
here is really interesting. So if you go and say, today we have 8 billion people on planet Earth. What if there are 20 billion people on planet Earth in the next 20, 30 years? How would we solve world hunger? And most people who are expert will tell you, you have to grow more food. You have to reduce the wastage in the transportation of the food. But no one will ask the question, why do we eat food? Because once you ask, why do we eat food, you realize you need energy, you need nutrition. What are the different ways can we get energy? And suddenly you wide open the problem to the solutions that you never thought was possible. And this is coming up with a different perspective, allows you to actually look at the problem differently and come up with a solution that were never obvious. And this is where I would say is that once you become an expert in anything, you become incrementalist or you become useless, in my opinion. And the
Mhm.
reason is because to be an expert, you have to be an expert by taking the foundational knowledge as granted. And that foundational knowledge becomes your liability because you're no longer able to challenge it. And someone comes along and basically says, why does it have to be that way? And they completely disrupt the whole industry. And that is where the biggest disruption happens, because you are actually a naive person looking at the problem from outside in. So it's not like you're thinking outside the box, you're thinking in a different box altogether, right? And that is really where the life comes in. And I think that to me, and the second part of why me really is, you have to ask yourself that if you're going to dedicate 10, 15 years of your life to doing something, what does it mean to you? That means, are you find something that you're willing to die for and then live for it every single day? Because if you don't find something you're willing to die for, you're wasting your time every single day, because that's not your true purpose. And the way you know it is your true purpose or not is when you wake up in the morning, do you jump out of the bed every single day wanting to do what you're doing? And if you don't jump out of the bed, then you should quit whatever it is that you're doing, because you have not found your true purpose yet.
I
Yeah.
love it. Well, I mean, let me ask you, what are you willing to die for? What is your true purpose?
And this now brings me to why. And, so I'm going to not only tell you what it is, I'm going to tell you how I applied the same found same principle to Viome, because a lot of people say that's a very abstract concept. How do you really apply? So here I am. I was working at a space exploration company to mine the moon for helium-3 to build a fusion reactor, a company called Moon Express. And we became the first company ever to get a permission to leave Earth orbit. We actually got the President Obama to change the law that says anything we bring back, we get to own it personally, not the country. And we became one of the 6 companies to get a $2.8 billion NASA contract. And I'm feeling at the top of the moon right now, right? And then
Yeah.
my dad was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. I didn't even know he was sick, let alone he had a stage 4 cancer. And he was given few months to live, and unfortunately, that's all we got from him. And it was, shocking. And it wasn't that cancer killed him, which obviously did. What really shocked me was that how I had taken it for granted that as he was aging, he was in 70s. Of course, he's got diabetes. He's got to take it metformin. Of course, he's got a high blood pressure. He's got to be taking his medicine. Of course, he's got heart disease. He's got to be taking his, statins, right? And as these diseases are piling up, he's getting just old. I mean, what are you supposed to do? And then I realized there's nothing in the human body that actually causes us to have these diseases. Because I keep thinking, is the human body has a clock that says you turn 40, you're going to gain weight, you turn 45, you're going to have diabetes, you turn 50, you're going to have heart disease? There can't possibly be anything like that. So, fortunately for all of us, none of these diseases happen overnight. Unlike infectious diseases, these chronic diseases don't happen overnight. It's not like you wake up one day morning and say, Christine, I think I was hanging out with Forbes last night. I think I might have caught diabetes. Right? You don't catch diabetes. You don't catch diabetes. It takes 8-10 years of assault on the body for you to develop that. It takes 8-10 years to develop heart disease. It takes, decades to develop Alzheimer or Parkinson. All these disease, cancer, these things take long period of time. That means our human biology is fundamentally changing every day. And if we can find out what is changing, we can possibly solve this problem. So this is how I started. And I'm thinking, look, and every great company starts with the same statement. And there are 2 great words I want every entrepreneur listening to it to follow. One is, what if? And the second is a word called imagine. And here's why. Imagine is so powerful. When I say imagine, you actually let go of all your preconceived ideas. And now you say, tell me what you want me to imagine. You can now start to fill in my mind with the things that you want me to imagine. And my job now is to describe to you something in such vivid detail that you can close your eyes and you can see it right in front of you. And that is what the vision is about. And what happens is a lot of the people now come up with the vision. I want to be the largest company with the highest market cap and thing. And I'm thinking, I can't visualize that, right? Vision is so simple. It's like Martin Luther King says, imagine I have a dream where a black man is holding a hand of a white girl walking together. I can close my eyes. I can see that. It is so clear what that vision is. And that to me is really, you need to start, right? And the what if is, you start to say, what if? And the reason for what if is you're now defining what if it could be done, what the world would look like. So in my case, we said, what if we can actually understand human biology at a molecular level? Before you develop any chronic disease, during the progression of these chronic diseases, if we can see what is actually changing, we should be able to diagnose this disease early. We should be able to prevent them from happening, and God forbid, outright reverse them. And if we could do that, would it help 1 billion people live a better life? And the answer is 8 billion of us, because every one of us is going to suffer from that disease. Great, check mark. Now we say, great. So what, first part of why this is very clear. If we can solve this problem, it's going to be massive. Then we say, why now? And we said to solve this problem, the three things must happen. You have to digitize our human body, and the
Mm-hmm.
massive amount of data, you have to be able to process it. And then we
Right.
have to have an AI that can actually make sense of it. We saw the
Mm-hmm.
cost of sequencing the human body is coming down. And when we
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
started the company, it was $1,200. And we thought, God, look, it used to be $10,000. In the next 3 to 5 years, it's going to be $100. And today we sit here at $4.73, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cost of processing was $45. We thought it would come down to 10. We're sitting here at 93 cents, right? So all these
Wow.
things were plummeting, and we knew that was going to happen because we could see the
Mm-hmm.
trend coming down. And then we knew the AI is going to be very powerful in the next 3 to 5 years, that we can actually build this company together, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
last part was the most interesting part, which was why me? So I kept thinking, look, I am not an expert, but every single company in this industry is focusing on one thing, which is they want to know my DNA. They want to keep wanting to know my genes. And they keep telling me, if I can get your DNA, your genes, I can solve any problem. So my first question as an outsider was, hey, if you do my DNA testing today, and then I gain 200 pounds, has my DNA actually changed? And the answer is, of course not. Well, what I become diabetic? Does it change? No. Well, when I
Mm-hmm.
become depressed, anxiety, heart disease, does it change? No. Well, it must certainly change after I die. And the answer is no. If you look at someone's DNA 100 years after they die, just like we look at DNA of mummies or dinosaurs, they never change. So if DNA
Mm-hmm.
can't
Mm-hmm.
even tell you you're dead or alive, how will it ever tell you, are you becoming healthier or sicker? So mine was that simple. I
Right.
said, wait a sec. How could looking at DNA, if you don't even know it's changing, then how can you tell me, am I healthier today than I was yesterday or not? Right. And so what
Mm.
that change and that. So everyone told me what changes is your gene expression, your RNA. And not being really naive, I say, in that case, why not have measure that RNA thing? Whatever that is, we're going to measure that RNA that is changing. And that's literally was the genesis of Viome. We say we're going to measure that
Wow.
RNA thing, whatever that is. And the second part was that 99% of all the genes in our body don't come from mom and dad. They come from these 100 trillion microbes that live in our gut, in our mouth, and all over us. Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
99% of all the genes are not from our mom and dad. So when we blame our ancestors that I have bad genes, no, sir, you're making bad choices. And that is the fact, is that it is your blaming ancestors is so easy to say, I have bad genes. It is
Yeah. Right.
90% of the thing is your bad choices. And it's really
Uh,
interesting, Christina and folks, what we learned is that less than 10% of the contribution comes from your genetic side, and 90% is actually something you do every day. The food you
Mm-hmm.
eat, the stress
mm,
your body you put you through, the exercises you do, the sleep, and the having a purpose and community in life. All of that changes who you are. And
mm,
90% of the chronic diseases are actually from these choices that we make every day. Now, coming
mm,
back to the Viome thing, so we said, look, to do that, we're going to start analyzing every part of your body. So we built a at-home test. It's called Viome Full Body Intelligence. And our tagline was, my imagine. Imagine a world where illness is optional. We didn't say imagine a world where there is no illness, because that,
Mm-hmm.
if I say there is no illness, that means I have power to cure illness. I didn't say that.
Right.
I said imagine a world where illness is optional. That means I can tell you what you need to do, but the choice is yours. And that's
mm,
where your responsibility comes in, that it is optional. Like being healthy is optional, that means being
Mm-hmm.
sick is also optional. Right?
Right.
So
wow.
what we do is we collect a spit of your saliva. We get a finger prick blood, 4 drops of your finger prick blood, and then we get a touch of your stool, and then we analyze over 100 million biomarkers in your body. So we analyze
Mm,
100
wow.
million biochemical reactions in your
Wow.
body. And then We tell you everything that's happening in your body, from your biological age to your cognitive health, your heart health, your gut health, your oral health, your immune health. And if you want to be nerdy with me, I can give you all the nerdy stuff, from your LPS production to your putrescin production to your ammonia production, right? But more importantly, we can say, hey, Christine, don't eat avocado right now because your uric acid production is too high. You're going to end up developing a gout. And here's a science paper if you want to learn more. Or Forbes,
Wow.
don't eat broccoli or cabbage right now because your sulfide production is too high, creating more inflammation. Here's a science paper. You can learn more about it. So we walk you through
Mm.
every food. You should eat this food. Here is a why. Here's a score that's going to change. And here's a science paper. Don't eat these food. Here's a why. And here's a science paper. And
Wow.
then we walk you through every single ingredient your nutrition, your body needs. You need 32 milligram of elderberry. You need 90 milligram of this, 89 milligram of amylase. And then we custom formulate that thing just for you. There is no pre-made formula. There is no pre-made capsule. We make it for you every month. We make a personalized gut biotics. We make a personalized oral lozenges. We even make personalized toothpaste for morning and evening separately. So what is needed for your oral health. Now, with all this stuff, people ask me, does it work? So we did double-blinded placebo-controlled studies, and we showed people in 90 days, if you follow the personalized food and supplement protocol, in 90 days, people who are pre-diabetic, their HbA1c came down by 0.42 and they became healthy. People who had IBS, and this is 15% of the people who have constipation, bloating, stomach ache. 64% of the people became healthy compared to 10% on placebo. Right.
Wow.
50% of the people who had depression or anxiety became healthy compared to 28% people on placebo. If this was a drug, it will be a blockbuster drug. Unfortunately, it is simply the food. Right? Think about it. When Hippocrates says, let food be thy medicine, he was the real doctor. Right?
Right. Well, it's funny. So, I've been telling my mom for 32 years I shouldn't eat broccoli, but for other reasons. But yeah. So I'm curious, so if 10% of it is genetic and the 90% of it, of the other issues are caused,
lifestyle.
I'm curious, lifestyle. I'm curious, what do you think the role mindset has in that 90% of the lifestyle?
Right, because you did talk about depression, mental health. Does it go hand in hand?
Yeah, it does. In fact, turns out there is a gut-brain axis and it's connected through vagus nerve. And people call that a vagus nerve, thinking what happens in the gut is going to stay in the gut. And they were so wrong. What happens in the gut goes everywhere, right? So if your gut is not well, your brain, your mental health, depression, anxiety comes from your gut, your skin. So when mom says, honey, don't worry about it, your beauty comes from inside, she meant it because your gut actually controls how well your skin is, right? And so it really is, we're not, by the way, we're not inventing a new science here. 2,500 years ago, the same doctor, Hippocrates, said all diseases begin in the gut. And we have this, we hear, listen to your gut, do your gut check. What they're really saying is do a Viome test, right? That's your gut check.
Gut check. I love it.
Okay.
That's so good.
That.
So I'm curious, just as it relates to your extraordinary personal story, was there a time like when you were a boy when you asked yourself maybe, why me? Or was there a turning point for you that really kind of, you were like, I'm going to go do something extraordinary, because it's just one extraordinary company after another that you're behind.
Yeah, we would love to hear a little bit more of your origin stories on a more personal.
Well, when was that? When was that why me moment?
Yeah. And honestly, a lot of the people end up rewriting their origin story. So I hate talking about that because it is a story rewritten, right? It is never, eBay wasn't born because somebody wanted a patch dispenser. So let's not, those are all the stories that get rewritten after you're successful, right? And it's really, and as you're talking about that, what was that pivotal movement? And I think that is, again, it is such a misnomer. 99% of the time, and, we have this saying that it's the last straw that broke the camel's back. And we all know it's not the last straw. It is all the other straws that came before it that broke the camel's back, right? And
it's the weight of the straws.
is a weight of all the straws previously. So that pivotal moment is really the pivotal moment. It is really the strings of the experience you have had along your life. And every single straw changes you just slightly who you become, and it changes you slightly you become. And one day someone who has not seen you for a decade come and say, oh my God, Forbes, you're such a different person. And someone who's
Right.
living with you every day think you're the same idiot that I married.
Exactly. That's so true. Was there one moment that changed you that like you look fondly on and say like I'm really glad that I had that moment or that experience?
And and again, it's not that I'm just want to tell you that what happens is that everything that happens in your life is actually makes you who you are today,
Yep.
whether
Mhm.
you at that time felt it was good or bad. So this idea of something happens that's good or something that happens is bad is in our own mind, because when something happens, it's neither good or bad, because you may not
Right.
know for decades to come whether it was good
Yeah.
or bad. How often, when we are a teenager, you break up with a girl or a boy and you say, my God, that's the end of my life. This is the worst thing that can ever happen. And a
Yeah.
decade later, you say, what a nightmare I have avoided, right? And so that is
Right.
really a thing in life. You know, trying when something happens, here's what I do. I say, look, universe is my friend. Whatever is happening, it's for my good, and it is
Mm,
what it is, and it will be what will be. And you really learn to
mm,
accept as things are. And every culture, Forbes and Christine, have this idea of this good or bad, and they have these stories. And I can tell you that in Indian culture, there's a story of a king and his wise man. And I think this really brings it home. So king goes with his wise man hunting, and the king falls down from a horse and breaks his arm. And the wise men say, so that happened, it's for the good. And the king is so angry that I just broke my arm and this idiot is telling me it's for my good. So he goes back and puts the wise man in the dungeon, and he says, now what do you have to say? Well, he said, that's what happened, and it's probably for the good. And now the king, week later, goes back hunting, and this time he gets caught by a tribe. And the tribe now wants to sacrifice him. So they get him ready for sacrifice, and the priest comes. And priest is ready to sacrifice him. He said, let him go. And he said, why? And he said, he is a broken man. We don't sacrifice a broken man in front of God. The man cannot be broken to be sacrificed. And he
mm.
goes home, and goes to the wise man. He says, wise man, you were right. You just saved my life. Because of my broken arm, my life is saved. He said, no, king, thank you for putting me in the dungeon, because you saved my life. Because if I was with you, they would have sacrificed me.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Mhm.
And so my
Wow.
point is, the good or bad is all in the perspective of what happens in the future, because you don't know. So, and same thing, and my point is, when you look at yourself, if you love yourself who you are today, then everything that happens in your life that you may have thought of good or bad is what made you who you are. So if you have to go back and change anything, you won't be the person you are today. So if you love yourself today, then you have no reason to change anything in the past, whether it was good or bad. So fall in love with
Yeah.
yourself so much that the world will fall in love with you.
Oh, I love that. Fall in love with yourself so the world will fall in love with you. Naveen, what's maybe a way that people that are listening can practice some self-love, or what's something that works really well for you?
And I think really is, first of all, I'm not ever talk about being complacent, but it's all about acceptance. That means there are
Mm.
only two types of things in this world. Anytime you look at any problem, you say there are only two types of things. It's in my control or it is not in my control. If it's not in my control, you simply say it is what it is and it will be what will be. Universe is my friend. It will be all for the good. If it is in your control, then you do the best you possibly can. And then you say it is what it is and it will be what will be. Universe is my friend.
Right.
Right? And
The
that's my
universe
point.
is always our friend.
That's my point. And that
Yeah.
acceptance is what makes you to say, I am going to do what I can, which is like in Gita, it says, you focus on your action, not on the results, because results will be what they will be. All you can do is take action. So you do the
Right.
best you can with the actions you can, and everything else is going to be what it's going to be.
Right. You know, I'm a big believer that time doesn't exist, right? Like outside
Yes.
of this plane,
Mhm.
I just don't believe time exists. So I believe that my destiny is set in stone. It's at the end, but it's not really at the end. It's just there, and I can
Yes.
control. You know, like it's just there's so much ease in living life when you know that it's already happened, and just to go get it. You know, it's like that. It's a very easy
Yes.
way of living.
It's manifesting. I mean, you can also, by the way,
Exactly.
people always tell me that how can thoughts change your what happens, your gene expression, your body? How can thoughts heal something? And people say that's such a woo-woo thing to say, that your thoughts and manifestation change something. And it occurred to me that imagine you're lying in bed and you have a thought, I want to get up. Guess what happens? You suddenly, the ions and the calcium in your body changes and your muscles contract and you get up. And to get up,
Right.
imagine all the things have to happen. Your body has to move, your muscles have to move, your hands have to move, your legs have to move. All that happen with a simple thought that I want to get
Thoughts.
up. Thought.
You know, and
So when
that's a
people say
really
thought,
great point. Thoughts.
thought,
Explain what thought means to you. I
yeah.
want to hear thought, the definition of a thought in Naveen's words.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Oh my God, that's such a profound thing. A thought is something that happens in between the things when you're not thinking.
Ah. See, I want to challenge that because I do believe that, right?
Yeah.
But okay, so I'm a very and I have used AI to Google it or to chat it,
Yeah.
to get more
Yeah.
information. But I
Yeah.
am a lucid dreamer. I lucid
Yes.
dream every
Yes.
single night. And I
Yes.
can literally control the reality of what I am doing, and I will remember it perfectly the next day. And I
Yes.
don't
Yes.
understand it, right? Because it's a thought, but at the same time, it's a dream. I don't know. Naveen, can you help me with this?
Yes. An answer is actually, as they say, is that, obviously there are multiple stages of sleep, right? So in your REM sleep, where you have rapid eye movement, this is where you actually dreaming lucidly. And that what's really happening is all of the things that in your mind, they are now being actually rewired and actually memories being consolidated. Your fears, your anxiety, your thoughts, your desires, they're all there, and they're now being actually, you can now control them to see what you want to store. And that's where the control comes in. You get to store what you think you want to store, and you let go of the things you don't want to store, right? And during the deep sleep, now you have the slow waves. And your lymphatic system actually is now pushing the spinal fluid through your brain to get out all the toxins in your brain. So your amyloid beta, all of this stuff is being oxidative. All of the chemicals are being flushed out. And that's the reason that people don't get good deep sleep. They start to actually develop Alzheimer and all types of diseases, because the spinal fluid is no longer, the lymphatic system is no longer cleaning the brain toxins, right? So to me, the REM sleep and deep sleep are the most important part. And we should make sure that every time you measure your sleep, you get at least hour and a half to 2 hours of REM sleep, and hour and 15 minutes to hour and a half of deep sleep. And even if like I get sleep for 5-6 hours, I'm such a great sleeper. I have same energy. I get up at 4 a.m. every day. I jump out of the bed and I go to bed by 9 o'clock. That means I stop eating by 6 o'clock. And it doesn't matter what I'm doing. Minute I say I'm on sleep, I hit my pillow. Within 10 minutes, I am fast asleep. Right?
It
That's
sounds
my
like
aura
Aaron
ring
Bear.
complaints all the time, all the time. That my God, your latency is so low.
So I'm curious. I want to go back to
Yeah,
your original thought on a thought. A thought is what
yeah,
happens when you're not thinking. What do you mean
yes.
by that?
So that's basically what happens when you're meditating. And they say the real experience of meditation comes when you let the thoughts go. And before the next thought comes in, that is where the presence and the real thought is. That means who you are is in that moment when there is, before the second thought comes in. That is the presence when you have nothing but you. Nothing but the pure you. That's a pure thought who you are.
That's beautiful. And honestly, I have the best breakthroughs after meditation.
For sure.
Really.
Yeah.
I get the best breakthrough, honestly, is when I'm taking shower. And don't judge me. It's just the
Oh my
hot
gosh,
water
that's so
falling on your
funny. That's so funny.
I totally
Yeah.
get it. I totally get it. Yeah.
That is really
I
funny.
am honestly
Shower
at that
thoughts.
time, there's nothing happen. I mean, I am just such zen. The hot water is falling on you. It's a complete privacy. There is no distraction, and I am just in the zone. And suddenly, oh my God, boom.
Do you have like a whiteboard or like something you
the
can
shower.
draw on so you don't forget it?
I mean, honestly, I am just, and every day sometimes happens, and it's like I come out of the shower and it's like, I gotta call this person. I just have a brilliant idea.
I love that.
And you know what? I can't imagine what that's like being on your top 5 friends. Like, what
Yeah,
does
for
that look
sure.
like? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, that's a great question. What does it look like when you pick up the phone and it's Naveen on the other end? What is it usually? Is it a crazy breakthrough
But
or
people are
what is
saying,
it?
oh my God, I don't have time to, can you hang up? No. No, honestly, the point is I rarely call people. I'm a big believer in not interrupt. The call is such a interruptive thing. So I normally would text someone before I call them to say, hey, are you free for 5 minutes? I have an idea, right? But I rarely would pick up a phone and call people, including my even family. Like my son, it's his birthday today. Say, happy birthday, Amkor.
Happy birthday.
This morning, and I know he's so busy. He's running a company called Built. You probably know, Christine. It's one of the large
Yes.
company of a rental reward. It's Built. And I know he's in
Wow.
probably some meeting. And I text him. I say, Uncle, want to wish you a happy birthday. Call me when you're free. And he calls me in 30 seconds. Say, Dad, got 2 minutes. Let's quickly.
2 minutes less.
That's awesome.
And
amazing. So
I
who do
understand
you
that.
go?
My point is, go ahead.
No, please.
No, continue. What I'm saying is that, we have 3 children. So, our oldest is Ankur. He runs a company called Built. He went to Wharton. Our daughter went to Stanford Fellow, Stanford Mayfield Fellow. And she runs a women's health company called Avi, another unicorn, right? And our youngest went to Stanford. He's a Schwarzman scholar, and he's another unicorn. So all 3 kids really grew up in an affluent family where they could have been a complete bum. But we redefined what success was for them. We redefined his success is not measured by how much money you have in the bank. Your success is measured by how many lives you actually improved. Right. So we redefined success and we told them your self-worth will never come from what you own. Your self-worth comes from what you create. So you may own a lot, but you're still a parasite on society unless you create something. Right. And that, those are the kind of lessons you have to teach the children. What success means, what is their self-worth is for the society. And as opposed to forcing yourself on children when they are young. I want to spend time with them. You got to show them that it takes hard work to be successful. So imagine if you become successful and you start a company, become successful, and your kids are young. The first thought comes to your mind is, I want to take time off and I want to spend time with your children. Right? Guess what happens? And children see it differently. My dad made a lot of money. When I go to school, he's sitting on the sofa watching CNBC. I come back from his school. Dad says, work hard, go to your room, work hard. And dad is sitting on the sofa watching CNBC. What do I want to do? I want to grow up just like my dad, sit on the sofa, watch CNBC. Right? Instead, you got to show them that money doesn't matter. You want to take on the next problem and solve it. Right? So my first company was widely successful. Guess what? I started the second company, the third company, the fourth company, and then said, we're going to go to the moon. And Dad, you can't do that. We showed them how it can be done. Now dad turned 60. Dad wants to start a healthcare company. Dad, you got a great life. Go right into sunset. You're going to get bloodied and you're going to fail. Why do you want to do that? Well, looks to me, kids, we haven't taught you anything yet. Let me show you how healthcare companies are built. Right? And today I'm 66 and kicking ass. And that what the kids need to see, that it's
Right.
not about the money. It's about taking on the biggest challenges and solving it is where the joy comes from. And that's why every
Mm.
kid says, Dad, now let me show you how I can take on an even bigger problem and solve that. And that's how we're going to change society.
Parenting masterclass right
Yeah.
there. Well, and then it is a great nod to your parenting because you know that
Mhm.
10% comes from genetics, 90% comes from lifestyle,
Right.
you know? So
Yeah.
it's all
Yeah.
about how you
Nature.
raise them.
Yeah.
And so I'm
Yeah.
you know, I'm curious because curiosity is a red thread
Mhm.
Yeah.
that happens in all these
Mhm.
extraordinary stories.
Yeah.
Curiosity
Yeah.
is a
Mhm.
tantamount principle for the people that are
Mhm.
extraordinary. So Naveen, what are you
Mhm.
curious about?
But interesting thing is that is a one simple thing. If you can teach your children anything, you want to give them intellectual curiosity. Intellectual
Mm.
curiosity is something that allows them to question everything. And I'll give you an example,
Mhm.
then I'll tell you, I'll answer your question. So when your child comes to you and say, Mom, Dad, look up, what a beautiful blue sky. Most parents will look up and they encourage the kid, oh my God, that's amazingly beautiful blue sky. Now, what if you told them, son, the sky doesn't really exist. Sky is a figment of our imagination because it's simply the blue light that's scattered that we see at a barrier called sky. But when you go
Mhm.
from here to moon, you don't say, Mom, I just passed the sky. Right? There is no sky. And by the way, the color blue doesn't exist. It's simply the electromagnetic wave, the photons hitting our eyes, and we make up that color. And it's not about teaching them the science. What you just taught them is even the thing they are 100% certain about, they see with their bare eyes. What if that
Mhm.
is wrong? What if that can be challenged? And what you have now shown him is intellectual curiosity to say, I can
Mm.
challenge everything, I can question everything. And that is
Mhm.
where the magic happens. So when Ankur said, Dad, why does some the credit card companies have to charge a fee when you put something on a credit card? What if we can get them to do it for free for a rent? We can completely change the whole rental industry. And that became built
Wow.
because he was valid. He was willing to challenge the basic foundation that credit card must charge a credit card fee.
Wow.
Mm.
We just had a guest on that said
Yeah.
everything is made up.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that
Mhm.
kind of speaks to that. Everything is made up. Ask more questions. Get a little
Mhm.
curious.
Mhm.
Push it
And
to the limits,
and by the way, or act, in my word, act like a 2-year-old child. Always say, but
Yeah.
why?
Tell
But why?
But why?
You know what?
But
Aaron
why?
and Forbes, funny enough, are writing a book right now. Do you
Mhm.
want to tell them what it is?
We're writing a book called I Don't Know Shit because
Oh,
when
I
you
love
have
it.
this mentality, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Certainty is the downfall and curiosity is the antidote. Because if
I love
you
that.
know,
I can't wait to read it.
yeah, well, so thank you. And Aaron has this saying like, you
Mhm.
know what
Yeah.
you know what you don't know. But then there's this vast sea of where you don't even know what you don't know. That's so much
Mhm.
bigger than
Mhm.
it's why would people walk around acting like they know?
Then you
But
don't know
interesting
shit.
thing is most people don't know what they don't know. That's the biggest problem.
Right.
Most people think they
Yes.
know everything. When they know tiny bit, they think they know everything because people who know everything, they think they know tiny thing.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, Naveen, what are you curious about?
But I'm more curious about, really about every single moment in your life. What can you learn? Every interaction that I have. So this interaction, you learn something. Every interaction changes who you become. So I'm always curious about humanity. I'm always curious about why the certain things the way they are and how do they have to be like that? What if we can change that? Do we have to be whether, anything in our life? Does our body need to be sick? Do we have to eat food? Can we not live on? If we say the most wars are fought because of land, because of water, because of energy, and you look up and see we are a tiny, tiny dot in our own solar system. And our solar system is invisible in our galaxy. And our galaxy couldn't be seen in our multi-galaxy system. And our universe may not actually be a only universe. It may be a multiverse. So where is the
Right.
scarcity of land? You look up and you see the solar system, just our own sun, gives us more energy every 90 minutes than we use in a whole year. So where is the
Right.
scarcity of energy? Where is the scarcity of water when there is actually every meteorite is full of water, right? So my point is,
Right.
it is all here, as you said. Our imagination and our mindset is the only limitations you have. So I'm always curious about what are their limiting beliefs that restricts them from doing what they cannot do. Because if you can imagine it, you can do it. What are they not imagining? What can you make them imagine that will change the way they think? And I really think the best way to get someone to really be inspired is for them to really be curious. Because once someone becomes
Right.
curious, they're always inspired.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
And as you were saying that, we're just this little speck of dust in the
Yeah,
vast universe, yet we have the ability to sit here and be
yeah,
conscious about our
yeah,
consciousness. And the
yes.
universe is experiencing us as we experience it. And it's just, we're all one,
Oh, yes.
sonder approach to life. And there's
Mhm.
nothing more beautiful than that. And the fact that Forbes and I are here right now interviewing
Yeah.
someone like you, Naveen,
Yeah,
is just
for sure.
Oh,
like we're specks of dust,
Yeah, yeah. This
It's
is really,
fun.
really awesome. Yeah.
well, really
Imagine is
appreciate you
the
guys. Really appreciate you
yeah.
guys. I mean, you guys are
Well,
awesome, and I cannot thank you enough. And my hats off to all what you're doing is to bringing these amazing people, guests, to your audience. Because if you can change their way of thinking, you would change how humanity lives in the future.
exactly. And
Right.
we're on a mission to collect 1 million extraordinary
1
stories.
million.
You can read more about Naveen's story at joinextraordinary.com. That's JOINEXTRAORDINARY. I'm Forbes.
Christine,
Naveen, thank you so much. We
thank you
really
guys.
appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.